Baldwins, and this is a beautiful evening. And we're going to be talking about an international pertinent issue because Uganda is going to host an epic conference for the Commonwealth parliamentary proceedings that are internationally cognizant with the politics and, of course, the economics of that Commonwealth. Before we go into a real in-depth studio discussion, let's have this introduction, then we'll be right back.
Queen Elizabeth II, in her address to Canada on Dominion Day 1959, pointed out that the Confederation of Canada on 1st July 1867 had been the birth of the first independent country within the British Empire. She declared, so it also marks the beginning of that free association of independent states, which is now known as the Commonwealth of Nations. The Commonwealth of Nations, normally known as the Commonwealth, is now a political association of 53 member states, nearly all of them former territories of the British Empire. It dates back to the first half of the 20th century with the decolonization of the British Empire through increased self-governance of its territories. In 1948, there was the founding of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, initially dubbed as the Empire Parliamentary Association, at a meeting on 18th July 1911 at what was then the House of Commons Committee Room 15 in the Palace of Westminster. As well as members of the UK Parliament, the meeting was attended by representatives of the then Dominion Parliaments of Australia, Canada, New Zealand, Newfoundland and South Africa, setting off the commitment towards this conference to an annual regularity scheduling hosted by different Commonwealth member countries. In November 2018, the Speaker of the Uganda Parliament, Rebecca Kadaga, was elected President of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association for 2018 to 2019 during the executive meeting held in London, UK. The Parliament of Uganda was tasked to hold the 64th Commonwealth Parliamentary Conference, or CPC, in September 2019 under the theme Adaptation, Engagement and Evolution in a Rapidly Changing Commonwealth. This conference is an added confidence vote to this beautiful country Uganda as being a global destination center for meetings, incentives, conferences and exhibitions tourism, on top of the 2007 Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting and the 2011 Interparliamentary Union conferences. Historically, in 1967, the Commonwealth Parliamentary Conference was also hosted for its first time in Uganda. As a way to engage the nation's public about the significance of this event in our country, NTV, in conjunction with the Parliament of Uganda and its organizing committee of the conference, have teamed up to generate interest and enlightenment on how capable citizens can capitalize on the economic and social potential that this opportunity presents. You're welcome.
Once again, I'm Karaga Baldwins, and very delighted that you're joining us tonight for this very prolific discussion. And on our social media, we have posted a question asking you that Uganda is hosting this event, but do you think that such events are of any qualitative value to the ordinary person? And just let me set out just a few responses before we get into the actual discussion. Ogwang Olot says that I think so, however little value it might be, depending on the available demand. I expect some ordinary Ugandan to benefit following the outflow procedures. Then I see Bragizi William saying that we are university students in Uganda who have innovated a platform that will heal the rampant sexual harassment. Okay, that's a bit of the context. Then lastly, Austin Segasta says that these are just wasting our taxes. We have biting issues at hand. Unfortunately, the government is investing into politics instead of tackling issues that are biting ordinary citizens. And please keep those very responses flowing in, because the people here for this discussion are very authoritative to make sure that we can move the discussion in a better practical manner. Gentlemen, you're welcome.
Thank you.
And on my extreme left, I have Brigadier Felix Kulaije Mutini, UPDF representative in Parliament and head of security on the organizing committee of the 64th Commonwealth Parliament Conference. You're welcome, sir.
Mouthful, thank you. Good evening, viewers.
Yes, indeed. And right next to me, on my left, Honorable Paul Amoru Omiat, MP Dokolo North, Vice Chairperson ICT and National Guidance, Chairperson of the 64th Commonwealth Parliament Conference Media Namibian publicity subcommittee, it's longer than
It's longer than mine.
yes.
Yeah.
So let me get you, Paul, right straight on this, because the historical chronology of this conference, as I go in a descending order, you have Sri Lanka in 2012, South Africa 2013, you have Yaoundé, Cameroon 2014, then 2015 there was none of this conference conducted, London, UK hosted in 2016, Bangladesh in 2017, and 2018 it was not hosted, and Uganda is hosting it. Can you just give us an overview and your background on how we as Ugandans were selected for this conference?
Okay, thank you so much, Baldwins, and good evening to our viewers. It is a great opportunity for Uganda to have a second chance of hosting this international conference 52 years later, and indeed it's a competitive process for a country to be selected. In 2017, Uganda and other countries made offers to be assessed, first by the executive committee that sits in London, and later it was supposed to go to the General Assembly for voting. So, but in 2017, there was a terrorist attack in Bangladesh.
Yes, I remember.
So, that conference was now held in London. So, the executive committee first sat in London and was able to review the countries that had offered, and usually they look at your capacity to host a conference of that stature. They look at issues of security. They look at the parliament, its independence and maturity, and how it conducts business, and many more other things that would make the delegates to be comfortable and to come and participate. So the executive committee found Uganda to be most befitting, and they voted overwhelmingly that Uganda should host this 52 years later. And indeed, in 2018, when Bangladesh had an opportunity to host what they missed, the General Assembly put this to a vote, and Uganda was confirmed unanimously that it should host this. And so the vote was both for the venue but also for the incoming president. So the Right Honourable Speaker, Rebecca Litwala Kadaga, she's well celebrated on the international scene as much as here locally, and so our track record and performance and emphasis on most of the values that the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association stands for made it possible for us to win. So she's also now the president designate of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association.
Okay.
So then the next stage to that, the Secretary General of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association had to visit. He visited twice, early in the year and then around April, to assess for himself, to look at the venue, to meet the National Organizing Committee, and he was overwhelmed with the level of preparations and said we had shot over and above the expectations. So as I speak, Uganda is very happy about this, and we expect that Ugandans will look up to the many things that will happen, because these opportunities come most times once in your lifetime. You can be lucky to exist twice, because another time we will have this, it will be over 52 years again.
Hopefully not.
Yeah, because we have 54 member states as of now, and every state would want to have the opportunity because of the benefits that we shall share later that come with this.
Okay, thanks for that synopsis about this particular qualification to have this. So, Honorable Felix, definitely you are a resounding name to the public, and you're well known. I'm
humbled.
You were a soldier in Parliament, a representative of the UPDF. Yes. So you have public perception problems of Uganda's Parliament, and I need you to, in a very humble way, be receptive to this. The public, most of the people, or perhaps some of the people, let me say some of the people, they feel that Parliament is subservient to the executive, that there's excessive greed and burden to the state purse by parliamentarians, that there's the Parliament so far has been held hostage by the military to the very ostentatious proof that you are actually part of Parliament, you UPDF people representing Parliament. So there is the theme of this particular conference, and it's asking that there should be an adaptation and there should be a review of how you as Parliament approaches to repair the reputation damage that past might have been done. So how does this conference theme, which is adaptation, engagement and evolution of parliaments in a rapidly changing Commonwealth, address the needs of Uganda's local parliamentary strengthening and development without you ignoring the public perception?
No, of course I can't ignore public perception, because the public is what we serve. We serve the people of Uganda, both as government and in particular as Parliament. But can I ask a question that not necessarily that you have to answer it? Tell me anything Ugandan that Ugandans are never skeptical about. I'm yet to find one. And for me, I find that very unfortunate. You find other people are very appreciative of our institutions, of the things we do in this country, but Ugandans themselves go out there and begin attacking. This is the only country I've seen that people don't praise their own achievements. Yet when you interact with our neighbors, they are very proud of their country. You want to say we have more problems than they do? Definitely not. But maybe it's in our psyche. Two, we come from you. He was elected by the people, I was elected by the EPDF. The EPDF comes from the population. If you're not happy with your parliament, check yourself. But I think that we try to compare our parliament against, I don't know, a standard I'm yet to find. Because those of us who bother to read about other countries, you find we are better off in many ways than many people would have thought, or how others are doing business. Talk about the independence of Parliament. Actually, this is the only Parliament that checks the appointments of the President. Yes, Congress in the US, you can see where we measure. A country that has been independent for over 350 years is where we measure our standards. If that's not an achievement, then English has changed the meaning. Two, where we came from, the people who were colonial masters of this country, the British, they began parliamentary democracy in 1335 actually. But women were allowed to vote in 1929, after how many centuries? Even then, today, our female colleagues earn the same amount of money we do. In UK, the ladies earn lesser than their male counterparts. In fact, the BBC bureau chief in China resigned 2 years ago because she was earning less than her counterparts. So why don't we celebrate the achievements of Parliament? Like my colleague has said, look at why is the Speaker celebrated internationally? If the Parliament was indeed subservient to the executive, then shouldn't be getting the accolades that she's getting. Three, our involvement as the UPDF. You know, when you want to study phenomena, then start from the root, or start from the beginning. How does the military get into our Parliament? First of all, it is not new. It's not unique to this government. Number three, we have a history. And a society that does not follow its history easily gets lost or makes mistakes because you are repeating mistakes of the past. In fact, some people have said that history does not repeat itself. Rather, people repeat the same mistakes that have happened in the past. So for us to avoid the pitfalls of the past, we got a solution. That the first solution to instability in the third world, and in particular in Africa, is keeping the military hidden somewhere. And when you fail to solve the political issues of the day, you remember to open for them, as if you're opening for dogs to deal with thieves. Now, we are scientific enough to say, no, we know our past, And the best way of insulating our constitution is involving every sector of our population. Now, if it has served us well for 33 years, and yet others are having issues of stability, of political progress, of democracy, you talk about, oh, you know, our parliament is not dependent. Check how many bills in the parliament will pass. Check how many issues from the executive we question, and others even we stop. Because how do you get the independence of parliament? Is in as far as how they can make decisions. Maybe allow me use this opportunity, Honorable Paul, to elucidate on operations of parliaments. In a multi-party democracy, parties have caucuses, and issues are hammered out in the caucus. So that by the time you come to parliament, a particular party has a position. It's in this parliament that you have individuals taking decisions against the majority decision of their political parties, and they still remain in that house.
Yes, and you don't think that those decisions at times are very arbitrary, very centered on perhaps one individual interest, because that is where the challenge is. Now, Honorable Felix, I need to just have a break because usually...
And I will start with your last question.
Let me go. Our viewers, please, let's go for a break, and we'll be right back to just have a more expounded discussion of this particular subject. Thank you.
When it comes to power and electrical appliances, we recommend Shule Cables. Shule Cables are of the best quality, long-lasting, reliable, and certified by Uganda National Bureau standards. They come in different types at very good prices. Single-core cables, twin cables, flexible cables, and armored cables. With Shule Cables, you're assured of safety. They're made with the best machinery and technology. Find them in all electrical distribution outlets countrywide. Shule Cables, you're assured of safety.
The National Environment Management Authority, NEMA, invites the general public to review the Environmental and Social Impact Assessment Report for the proposed East African Crude Oil Pipeline Project. The project involves the construction of a 1,443-kilometer pipeline from Hoima, Uganda to Tanga, Tanzania. In Uganda, the pipeline will traverse 10 districts from Hoima through to Rakai. The major project components in Uganda will include a 296-kilometer long buried heat traced and insulated pipeline, pumping stations, valves, heating stations, electrical substations, access roads, camps and pipe yards. Details of the project have been provided in the report, which can be accessed at the following places. Written comments should be addressed to the Executive Director, NEMA, at the address below. NEMA, ensuring sustainable development.
Something which is unfolding, which you guys ought to pray about. I saw that helicopter thing being blown up.
It is a very dangerous thing for you to start entertaining negative outcomes. You know, because you see, sometimes if you're not careful, what you call warfare is actually robbing you of your estate in Christ.
There is not any man, prophet, psychic, whatever you may call them, that has stood in front of masses and has been that detailed and that specific about things year in, year out, and you have seen them before you.
Prophet Elvis Mbonye, the prophet with an unmatched record of prophetic fulfillments.
On
The next episode is brought to you by Roofing's Strength of a Nation.
Your mother was hungry for love all her life until she became greedy when she received the love she's longed for. She failed to love herself first, and so it's all my fault.
Attorney, what should we do now?
Since Enzo confessed, the investigation will be focused on him. He is now the primary suspect, unless somebody presses charges against your son. The police can arrest him whenever they want to.
Okay, so what can I do for my son? There has to be something, right?
Roofing's Strength of a Nation.
Thanks for keeping with us. I'm Karagawa Boardings, and we're coming to you live from the Kampala International Conference Center. And thanks for just being with us online as we have been going through that particular question, asking you whether these events are of any benefit, economically or socially, to the ordinary person. And just one quote from Igunga's response. He says that they would have been beneficial to the ordinary people if the tenders associated with such are given out fairly, say accommodation, transport, feeding and the like. It's indeed unfortunate that they are instead given to relatives of government officials who are even more expensive and inefficient. Okay, gentlemen, you're hearing just the skepticism and the lack of trust in government in as much as you're trying to sell this whole project. Now, before I come to Honorable Paul about the whole process of organizing, you were just concluding that point from here, based on what you hear, especially from people who don't share the same political view with the current government. They feel that most of the things which are done by Parliament are simply to serve the interests of the President. That is clearly where the whole... Yes.
I will just give about 3 points, and very briefly. First of all, parties are supposed to be organized along interests. Okay? 2, in the pursuit of those interests, therefore, majority decisions have to be to rule. It's in this country I've seen a minority wanting to rule the majority. And that is democracy, not democracy. 3, and this is my last point. In the pursuit of these interests, democratic principles require these parties to caucus, to have a common position when they come to the plenary. Now, if the ruling party pursues interests that apparently seem to favor the president, remember, she's the party president, she's the party chairman, and in that house, the majority decisions must reign. So if in your view they are favoring the president, is the president having the mandate of the people? The answer is yes. And is he, whatever he's doing, how would you mark it? Is it meeting the expectations of the majority, not the minority? Yes, minority interests must be respected, but they should not override majority interests. Okay,
good defense on that particular aspect, but we have to go on because the central discussion is about the 64th Commonwealth Parliamentary Conference. And Honorable Paul, I can see on the 7th of June, as you were saying, the Secretary General of this particular association, Akbar Khan, he gave a commending response and says that he was impressed by Uganda's readiness to host this particular conference. So how is the conference generally organized, and what is Uganda's cost input? Because people are estimating that this is likely even to go into 20 billion shillings. Uganda's cost.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. We have already observed, a lot of work started last year actually. First of all was by constituting the committee, the National Organizing Committee, and also coming up with the key subcommittees that should help to execute the nitty-gritty of what we intend to have. So you have you have 2 of us are heading 2 subcommittees. Brigadier here is heading security and protocol. I'm heading media and publicity, We have the conference committee that oversees the entire organization. We have the committee on excursion, which is largely selling some key tourism sites, because we will be taking delegates there at their cost, and also the accompanying persons, which I will explain a little how we benefit from that group. Then we have accommodation, we have conference management, and so forth. And so all these teams are working together to deliver a good conference. For example, you see, like within the media, which we launched, also we called all the editors. We shall be establishing a state-of-the-art media bureau at the conference venue, where local media and foreign media are able to operate for 7 days and either file their stories, upload or stream whatever they want within the conference venue, and that is directly at Munyonyo. So conferences like this usually is cost shared. We have contribution that comes from the secretariat. We have the contribution that comes from registration fee, and then the contribution that the government of Uganda has to put. Indeed, all of that, the budget, the projected budget is around 20 billion. And to contribute to this basket.
Is that locally sourced billions or?
Yes, well, like I was telling you, we have contribution from the secretariat. We also have, and this is very critical, when we attract many people, then it's able to substantially, sometimes even over 50% of the costs, because every delegate is registering. And for members of parliament and speakers, there are over 500 of them. So you have speakers from 54 countries around the Commonwealth family, and each of those speakers pays a registration fee. And then is coming with a delegation of members of parliament. Each of them pays a registration fee to Uganda. And then you have accompanying persons. You have observers, others from different international organizations, different agencies. So all of this, which we cannot for now place a specific figure on, but how we do publicity, how we market the destination, Uganda, and what else is in store for the delegates over and above the discussions that we shall have during plenary, and all of that is going to help us. Sometimes you can be fortunate that the collections you make actually can offset the entire budget. So I think we shouldn't be worried about that. Definitely Uganda will have to provide security, and that's why we have the very able brigadier here in charge of that. Just on Monday we were at the airport to meet with the airport authorities and see, because we shall have very, very important persons arriving, how will they be received, the delegations. So Uganda will have to have security around to take care of the teams that are coming in for the travels, because they are going to be traveling within Kampala and also outside Kampala. And then we have to provide vehicles to pick the speakers, because these are VIPs. But over and above that, the tradition now is that previously the burden was very heavy on hosting countries. Yeah, because for instance you have to pay accommodation. For now they register, but also they pay for their accommodation. What we have done is to register or accredit 20 hotels that went through proper vetting.
Yeah, and I'm coming to that.
Within and all of these our hotels here in Uganda. We are not taking any delegates to the neighboring countries.
To Kenya.
So they are here with us.
I'm going to come specific to that about the readiness of the hospitality and the tourism industry. And quite a comprehensive approach on preparing. Honorable Felix Kuleije. So in 2012, over 1,000 delegates converged for the IPU conference, as in the National Parliaments Union Conference, and this related meetings hosted by Parliament were just over 150 parliaments, and the accusations that business benefits majorly accrue to high-placed government officials, just as you heard one of the responses from our social media correspondent. So he's giving this very glossy and flowery benefit package for the population, but actually there is a whole lot of skepticism, and based on evidence of earlier audits that were carried for CHOGM, for IPU, and for other major conferences, people have not benefited as much, it seems. So what is in your own emphasis here, how economically beneficial is this to?
First of all, allow me to start with an appeal.
Yes.
Can we stop always looking at the glass as half empty? Yeah,
on my part, I have to look at it as half empty so that you fill it up. Yes.
It's not you alone. This is the attitude of Ugandans.
Yes.
Start from a positive angle. The glass is half full. Once you start from that angle, then you'll be able to see things in the positive perspective. Look at the business that's going to come to the country. You are talking of over 1,500 people paying for accommodation, for starters. That's meant to our hotel industry. 2, the food they are going to eat, they will pay for it. That's money to the country. 3, they are going to pay visa fees, except those that are visa exempt according to countries, which are not very many. That's money into the country. 4, transportation. Yes, we have vehicles prepared, but the other people who are not being catered for by Parliament, they will hire their own vehicles. The other countries that actually prefer to hire their own transport when they go to some of these countries, all that is money. For me, I would ask Ugandans, position yourself. What do you have available? Right? There is an exhibition going to take place. Actually, allow me to compliment my colleague. My committee handles accreditation. Protocol is a different committee. So in the slip of the tongue, I had mentioned the protocol. I handle accreditation. So we have even issued dates when we should be accrediting those who are going to exhibit in this conference. And we are not limiting to, it's open. 5, they are going to go up country. Kaguru, Ikweta, Maya Resort. These places, they are going to spend money. So what am I talking about? You who is lamenting about last time, because I don't have evidence what happened in IPU, but I know it was a successful conference. Then look at the publicity of the country. Coca-Cola is what I normally give as an example. Coca-Cola started production before I was born. But every month they change jingles. That's money being paid. This conference is advertising our country world over. So you as a Ugandan, what is it that the world is going to see that you are producing? You see, even if rain comes the whole day, the whole week, if you don't have gutters that are directing water into your tank, it will go to waste. So similarly, as these people come here, what are you tapping into this conference as a Ugandan? What is the standard of what you're offering? I know I give the example of our sisters, the ladies. Why do you think they check themselves every day and in every mirror? They are competitive with both real and imaginary competitors. So can we compete? Because we are competing in the international market. So there is business that we are going to have. There is publicity of our country. Tourism. How will tourists know what you have if they are not seeing what is going on in the country? All right? When you talk about conferences coming, when you see conferences coming frequently to your country, one, that's a vote of confidence in your stability. It's a vote of confidence in your capacity, as Honorable put it. It's a vote of confidence in your ability to feed your visitors. It's a vote of confidence that you have what it takes to host such a conference of such magnitude. So can we jump out of our village thinking? And then can we stop what I call normally co-wife attitude? Since I don't support the government in power, then nothing good is going to happen. Excuse me. Things are happening. The bottom line determine what you are going to do. And then check the subcommittees we are talking about. Are they being dominated by the ruling party? No. The person handling the budget of the entire conference is from FDC. Honorable Elijah Cooper, he's the chairperson of the budget subcommittee. And others. What am I saying? This is a national conference. For me, I would want to challenge each one of us. Instead of adding a chapter on the book of Lamentations, which is not allowed, please position yourself to benefit from this conference.
Okay, thank you. Very well put, indeed. And some of these questions come to make sure that we are a bit genuine. The discussions to reflect also sentiments elsewhere. But definitely, this is a very critical and beneficial activity. So, participants and delegates are coming, and you've selected hotels, and I think they are tourism destinations. Yes. Tell us about the readiness of that.
Yeah, there was very careful study of the facilities we have. First of all, in fact, we have gotten to a stage where it's no longer an issue, even attempting to ask whether Uganda has capacity to host conferences of that magnitude. And that's why, especially after CHOGM, when we, by the way, just to refresh your memory, when we first hosted CPC in 1967, we did not have any facility at all. So Apollo Hotel, the present day Sheraton, had to be hurriedly, government invested very heavily in that, and then also
so Sheraton Hotel was put up in response to that.
Yeah, to host that, and also Chobe Safari Lodge at the Masisho National Park was also put in place, and delegates were taken to that place. And so if you look at, so there were two facilities. Yes. So when you now look at our capacity down from that time to date, especially when we hosted the CHOGM, and the Ugandan borders has been open to all these high-profile conferences, and you saw UN.
Also some of the pictures.
Yes, you saw UN. Hosting the refugee conference. The whole world was here, and then we had IPU, and now we have CPC, and more are coming. The private sector, many of these. So Uganda is now a destination, and definitely you're going to see the benefits as Brigadier was talking about. Others are immediate, others are long term. The benefits that will accrue. There are many visitors that will come and then plan to come back for a holiday to Uganda. So our hotels, we took the Secretary General, Mr. Khan. We took him to Munyonyo, we brought him here to Serena, Sheraton. So 20 hotels within the outskirts of Kampala. Others are preferring to stay in Entebbe. And others are even going outside the 20 hotels that we have selected, and we still maintain it is safe. In as far as the readiness and capacity to host this is not in that. Like we told you, we already got a long take from the Secretary General, who comes, he has the international standard, but he comes with the perspective to look at. And some of the areas that Honorable was talking about, in the area of democratic governance, you recall that actually Uganda was suspended some time back in the 70s, 71, 72, from the Commonwealth, because their yardsticks, their standards, their values that are reviewed every year. And indeed, the worst thing that the Commonwealth would do is to associate with a country that does not meet the basic standards, leave alone hosting it. Because even just membership, like we were suspended from being members. But to go as far as accepting to be hosted by a country that some people think, as you are reading and has been explained by Brigadier here, does not meet the democratic governance practice and all of that, is definitely overstretching this. It's important for the public to remain critical, to always ask questions, to hold government accountable. This is very necessary, but we want that always to remain objective. We need to get moments when we pull together as a country and understand what is good for us and see the opportunities that we have as a country. Not everybody can be president, not everybody can be journalist, like not everybody can. So, but all of us, from all different walks of life, from all the sectors, we need to see what are the investment opportunities. We have investors coming here to see. That's why we shall be having an exhibition, and is open to across the country. The entertainers that we shall have both at the opening ceremony and at the closing ceremony, we are picking them from across the country, and some are coming from the east, from the north, and you will be seeing them. And so this is the deliberate position that we have been able to take under the leadership of the Right Honourable Speaker, to ensure that every Ugandan feels part of this. Of course, we are going to be having some extras, like the president will be at the opening, but also is going to have a dinner with the delegates at State House, and all of these are still opportunities. And international, every speaker, over and above the accreditation we have given to about 240 journalists, but every speaker's delegation also has an elaborate press team. And then we have the international. All of them, the lenses will be on us. So
money.
Yes. So democratic governance. You see, when you associate the peer-to-peer relationship, there's always an accountability mechanism where when we meet, we are able to remind ourselves, we are able to set standards, we are able to set best practice that we want every day. We cannot say we have arrived. No country will arrive. That's why even as a Christian, you can't stop going to church that I've read all the Bible, I've understood it, and I no longer need to go to the pastor to pray for me. We are going to continue to do that until God decides that will go to him. So that is their physical infrastructure, improved capacity, boosting our foreign exchange. The forex bureaus are all warming up.
Just a pause on that, Honourable Paul, because we need to go for a break, and definitely there's just so much elaborate benefits that are coming to this. But there's there's a problem eating up the whole world, and particularly the Commonwealth, the Asian countries, Pacific, and of course Africa, about youth unemployment. When we come back, Honourable, I need you to help us understand how this particular association is trying to alleviate or perhaps mitigate this problem. Thanks our viewers for keeping with us. When we are back, we'll conclude this discussion. Thank you.
A charming destination full of hidden and overt beauty in every sense. The breathtaking sceneries of the Pearl of Africa will make you overly joyous. Uganda is a fairy tale. The Pearl of Africa offers the best of East and West Africa. Magnificent waterfalls, geological features, the culture, the people, the sights, the sounds. Be a part of this. Tour Uganda. Explore, adventure. Enjoy this spectacle with us. Coming soon to NTV.
Every day, you and I are involved in such cases where our border guys' precision to make a right navigation is clouded by wasi-wasi. It's not worth it. Every life matters. Tread the call while on bike.
This message was brought to you by Viva Energy and NTV Uganda.
On the next episode
is brought to you by Roofing's Strength of a Nation.
A gunshot, but who fired the gun?
That's what the officers are figuring out. Joseph was insisting that Enzo had a gun, but they didn't find anything on him. Olivia was clean too.
What were they doing there?
They were looking for Calvin.
But sir, where is Calvin? Did they find him?
Not yet. And Dado's body hasn't been found until now. What if Dado was actually there, and he was the one who fired the gun? What if he already has Calvin?
I have something to ask you, Joseph. Did you take Obit's gun from the place where I was keeping it?
No, I didn't take that gun.
If neither of you have it, who took it? It's just the three of us here. I can't believe that you would lie to me.
Roofing's Strength of a Nation.
Thank you for continuing with us. As we're wrapping up this discussion, we're asking ourselves about how you as an individual out there, you can be able to capitalize on this very elite and epic conference that we're going to hold of the Commonwealth, 54 countries, and rich, of course, and some which are not doing that well. But all of them are bringing resources in this country. And we've asked another question on your advice on how we should benefit from this. And I can see Patrick Okot saying that local goods be branded made in China or USA or Britain, rather other than having those that are branded USA, Britain and China. Instead, we should brand our own and make them local. Maybe find ways of trading with other countries in the Commonwealth. On a political side, countries in Commonwealth should find ways of engendering political dispensation. Okay, not pretty clear submission. So, Honorable Felix, of course, in cognizance with the response from the audience, there is a wide problem, a very bothersome problem of youth unemployment. Young people below the age of 35 or even below 30. And here in the country, Uganda is so specifically, there's a research that has been done by the Advocate Coalition for Development and Environment, saying that youth unemployment is standing at about 70%. Very frightening. And about 30% of those youths who are institutionally qualified in Uganda are unable to find jobs, and the situation is even worse for semi-skilled people. Now, as an association, and particularly for this particular conference, how is this going to be addressed? And definitely not just in rhetoric. How do you think this is going to be addressed?
First and foremost, when we talk about the economic benefits that are going to accrue from hosting such a conference, in the long run, this money is not going into pockets just. Hotels are going to reinvest, your business people are going to supposed to reinvest. But besides that, it's a critical examination of this unemployment. Again, it depends from the angle. Is the youth bulge a disservice, a danger, or it's an opportunity? I'll tell you, one of the reasons why Japan lost the second position as the second biggest economy in the world was because of the population type. The working people were less than the consumers in terms of age, because the Japanese are living longer.
Yes.
So you would find a small population is sustaining a big population. Now, when it comes to Africa and many of the third world countries, it is going into one, what's the level of industry in the country? even the sector that has been active for ages, agricultural sector, how many youth are involved in it? Instead, what has been happening? Rural, urban migration. People are selling land to buy border. 3, what is our attitude to work? Because you see, instead of crying about a job, for me I believe innovation is the first answer. Because each one of us, wherever we are, there are existing opportunities. The problem, what are the lenses we are wearing? What capacity do you have? I mean, let's be honest to ourselves. When you go to university to study human resource and personnel management, how many companies are actually looking for human resource managers? When you are studying political science and sociology, what are you coming out to do? For me, these are the questions I now ask when I meet young people. Number 4, what's the role of government? Government is supposed to do 4 things. Create stability so that people can invest. Build infrastructure so that those who are investing have roads to use to reach the market, to reach the source of raw materials. 3, provide conducive fiscal and monetary policies to manage the market, the money market. 4, communication. If you check, over 18 million Ugandans are now on phone.
Yes.
But what are we using the phone for? So, in my humble view, a conference like this one is actually putting and it is injecting capacity into the economy in terms of financial resources. My role as a Ugandan is to question myself, how can I tap into these visitors who are coming? But when you drive on a road and you see nothing is being sold on the roadside, and yet it's a tarmac road, it costs money to build, but the population along that road is not tapping into this beautiful infrastructure that has been built, then you get, what about the country? So for me, I'm looking at, in fact, instead of going on seminars and conferences to study the issue of unemployment, start with dealing with the question of our attitudes, the mentality. If only we can run away from looking for quick money, and go long term. If Ford, if Diamond Benz went for quick money, they wouldn't be doing the market to date.
So, of course, Honorable, you're not too political because you're representing UPD, but you see, politicians actually are the ones who have quashed that particular principle, whereby all of a sudden they're in government, and in just a span of about months, they have literally $1 billion shillings. They're raising up skies, whether mansions. Money is quickly gotten or perhaps properly gotten when you get in parliament, or rather parliament or government. And that perception for you thinking that the young people are not innovative, they're not being responsive, is generated at times by the...
And you're using the other approach. I did not say they are not innovative.
Okay.
I mentioned things we need to do or need to have. When I speak, I expect the viewer to do self-evaluation, self-examination. What have I done on my part? Or if I did not get a job because of my academic qualifications, have I gone back to say I better repackage myself to suit in the market? But imagine that the market will turn itself so that it is available for me. It's naivety.
Yes.
And lastly, Mr. Modesta, I'm glad you brought it up. No government. Actually, this government, in my humble view, has made one mistake: giving people money. This is the only government, check across the world, that has given money to individuals in their hands. And what do? We are talking about unemployment. People have sat under a mango tree and shared money given under YLOP. People have held cows by the collar. This is our money, give it to us. But it's not your money. It's money to use to make yourself better, and others use it. So until we realize that no one else owes us a living, but each individual must look after himself or herself. And what's the way to go? What's the opportunity available? If opportunity has been created, utilize it. But to expect that NTV will become around and give us like you have won this vehicle and you have won this. Well, those are like a lottery.
Yes.
They don't come to everybody.
Okay, thanks for being
actually around the
yes, because this will be
within the conference itself.
Yeah,
there is a structured
I want you to just
round table.
As you're responding to that, it will also include how you are trying to. Youth unemployment
and fighting youth unemployment is not honest. Like Brigadier was saying, you can see the billions that Parliament approved to go under the youth livelihood program. Billions of shillings. Some districts get up to 800 to 1 billion per financial year for youth projects, and we have teams on the ground, the cows, the production officers, and the probation officers that are supposed now to guide these young people and ensure that the investment of this money is able to turn their lives around. You talk about innovations. Already within the Ministry of ICT, the Innovation Fund, about 7 billion, like this particular financial year, 7 billion is going to young people who are innovative in ICT and other areas of skills-based competencies, and there's already a plan to ensure that this is decentralized so that we have regional hubs. I'm happy I just learned last week that the UCU Mbale campus has already established a hub that is looking at innovations. And so a lot of work has been, but I think some people have either chosen not to take advantage because opportunities also meet preparations and then ability to work on it. So so what the Commonwealth is going to do, we don't want to sit at one end and think the young people should be at the receiving end. We want the youth to be involved in discussing and making proposals on what is workable. And 2 days ago, I saw a delegation from the National Youth Council headed by Ms. Lilian Abe and her team. They met the Right Honorable Speaker because there's going to be a round table. So our Ugandan youth leaders, including those in school under Uganda National Students Association, will be meeting with their counterparts from around the Commonwealth nations. And they will be in a round table and they will assess these things so that we secure commitment at such a high profile meeting, conferences. And when we say engagement, adoption, it's then that the resolutions of this conference is cascaded. It is sent to these parliaments, and you find that the speakers of these parliaments have been there, they have committed themselves to it, and when they go back home, they are then able to work on policies, they have to work on legislation that make it viable for what has come out from the Youth Roundtable. Even there will be one on women. We have on people with disability, on climate change, and these are very critical. You saw the wildfires in the Amazon forest, Brazil, and this has been the ecosystem has been absorbing a lot of carbon. So the world is exposed, and Uganda is not any difference. He was getting a call from somebody in Kisoro saying Kisoro is very hot. So these are very critical issues that we want Ugandans to pay attention, and indeed Ugandan Parliament and the government of Uganda is going to take very, very seriously the resolutions, especially that are made here in Kampala, for the rest of the world to go back and implement. And so I think this is a great opportunity. Once again, if I must repeat, that we should be positive about. There is another law we had under the PPD Act, the law on local content. It is being enriched, where we would want to see, for example, at a district level, when you see the contracts in billions that come through the local governments, people who compete for it, you find someone who has been in business for 20 years, is at the regional level there. He's competing for supplying desks, for supplying scholastic materials. He's also competing for building roads. He's also competing for probably getting contract with the REA to help with the rural electrification. Yes. So I think we want to segment. There are businesses that would support beginners or young people, and we are under the Skilling Uganda program, and you have seen the investment that has gone into vocational institutions and technical colleges, and the specialization around that, so that when these people come out, world over, governments are not the answer to employment. Government jobs, it is always private sector led, and then you want job creators. People have sets of skills that can meet the market demands, and then they are productive.
Yes,
they're productive. And like he talked about honor in labor.
Yes,
a lot of people want to be selective about the kind of jobs they will do. People talk about America, the land of opportunity, and all that. But when you see what people do, people have honor. If I am a carpenter, if I'm a car washer, if I'm a gardener, I do that with a lot of honor and professionalism, and do it to the best of my ability. And this is the concept that we must understand. People think you have to first wear a suit and a tie for you to earn a decent living, and yet the actual works, the real paying jobs, is not in those places. You talked about the wealthier people. I don't know maybe where you come from, but for me, I think even in this country, the politicians, maybe a few here and there, but the politicians are not the richest. People who have gotten into agriculture, people who are doing produce. When you go to my town in Dokolo, some of the houses, the best houses, commercial houses that came, they were for produce dealers and people who are involved in the production chain, and we need to support them to build on that, and encourage everybody to invest. So there's a lot of room for us to streamline how we are appropriating the resources, and encourage the education path to emphasize competence-based, so that we have people who come out and they get into workshops, and who come out and they are productive and they're able to create more employment and also be able to generate wealth.
Okay, very comprehensive submission. Just Honorable Kulaji, just 1 minute, please. Let me give you the last word on this, whatever you need about, especially this conference, to communicate.
First and foremost, we do salute Ugandans who are supplying to the conference a number of services.
Yes.
And I also wish to appeal to Ugandans to actually seek for the opportunities that are available in this. 3, I want to assure the country it's because of the stability of this country that international visitors are coming. Let us continue to cooperate with security agencies to ensure the country remains stable. The threat of terrorism is over the whole world. We have to keep alert. Terrorists have not spared us out of kindness. It's because of vigilance that we have been able to keep them at bay. And lastly, please, the hospitality of Ugandans has been known internationally. Where I was brought up, once you have visitors, you keep your differences in the rear until your visitors leave. So this time to be together as a country, welcome visitors, give them hospitality, tap from what the money they are bringing in.
Build the networks.
Build the networks, exactly. Networking is the way to go. You have 54 countries coming here, different people. When you get in touch with a foreigner, exchange a business card. You never know. Then after they have gone, we can go back to our issues.
All right. Honorable Brigadier Felix Fulaije, UPDF representative in Parliament and the head of the security team
and accreditation
committee. And Honorable Paul Amoru Omiat, MP Dokolo North, the Vice Chairperson ICT and National Guidance and Chairperson.
You're closing down. We need to thank NTV and you and NTV for bringing us to the people. I know people are watching us in Uganda and also across the world.
Absolutely.
They're watching us.
Yes. No, it's a great partnership, and we're going to continue. We have still more engagements, especially for this particular project, and we're grateful for.
And we appeal to you still, but the rest of the media industry to stand with us. They're already doing a good job. Let's keep on drumming.
All right. Thanks our viewers for keeping with us, and indeed just keeping us as your #1 station. If you're out there as an NGO or a government, a ministry, a department or agency, and you want to pass a message that is comprehensively packaged, just as this, please come talk to our general manager, our sales team, or myself, and we'll have a great discussion over that particular issue that you're concerned about. Please keep logged on to us as NTV, your #1 station. God bless and Karaga Boardings. Good night.